Startup as new normal. I'm sure you see startup being the word for the entire decade now, where you see a lot of educational institutions starting their own courses. You talk about, uh, you go on TED Talk, you go on Inc Talks, you see other talks like Josh Talks, and you see startup founders, owners talking about startup successes and failures. Often life mantras are now newly designed around startups and how you can decode startup in order to understand life, right? And I'm sure all of this is a lot of chaos for someone who is just trying to understand what exactly startup is. So according to me, I would say startup is something which has something new. So it could be a new product, it could be new innovation, it could be new addition to an existing service. So anything which is bringing an innovation, but also making human lives easier. So I often say two things together, that a startup is something which has a new idea to any existing business, but also solving a problem which makes human life easier is called a startup. So I'm sure now, since we're talking about this, a lot of you may ask that then what is the difference between startup and business? It's very simple. So if you look at startup is something which has some innovation. So for example, taxi service used to exist earlier, right? But now if you see Uber and Ola, how they're trying to bring certain value additions to their app in order to make user experience better, in order to bring more safety, in order to bring variety of payment acceptance, and also the high quality drivers and riders. So the rating system, how that makes things a little different, something also out there. So I would say this is what how the startups are changing the world, or you can say that how reshaping or redefining the humanity in general. So that is how I see startup taking a charge as a role in terms of deciding how exactly world is going to look like. And while if you talk about businesses, business is anything which is very traditional, very conventional, and has a limited scope of growth. So often you see there are businesses which are growing, but they take 20, 30, 40 years to grow and to reach to a particular stage. While startups grow in 2 to 3 years, 5 years, and you see they have become a giant dragon in the market. So that is how I think the distinction, according to me, when you talk about business versus startup. Coming to the another segment called entrepreneurship, I am sure a lot of you must have read this somewhere, that out of 10, 9 startups fail, and this is something, even if you go and Google it, I'm sure you'll find it. So, which is very obvious, because I would say a lot of times people who are starting up, they are not so sure of the resources, not so sure of the people, not so sure of how to uh, build a business from scratch, right? But there's another saying, and which makes a lot more sense, that out of 10 people who actually start up, 9 entrepreneurs become great human beings. And I think that's the game changer we need to look at. So instead of looking at that why startups are growing and failing, I think it's important that how entrepreneurship as a concept evolves you as an individual, makes you a better human, makes you brings that empathy to you, that you think about people first, and then the process, and then the profit, right? And I think that's the fundamental which change how the organization culture work experience for an individual working with you, or how you can take care of the happiness scores of individuals. So eventually, I'm sure, I mean, if individuals are happy, the country will be happy. And I'm sure you go back and you see that what is the current status of India when you talk about happiness scorecard, and that's in triple digit. So looking at those numbers, I am sure that this is how we are going to redefine and reshape the country. So we often talk about that the building block, or the people who are actually building the nation, are often considered to be politicians, big businesses. But I see one element which is being missed out is called startups. People who are actually building up opportunities for people to grow and join the real time forces.